We are live.
We are live. I just checked.
We are live.
So it's been quite a funny week, hasn't it, for stuff? Because anyway, welcome everybody that's here. Hello and welcome to that album. And yeah, this week. So we've done important albums to us previously, haven't we?
We have.
And sometimes those have been a dreadful disappointment. Fine Young Cannibals and stuff. Lenny Kravitz, Mama Said, where you listen to it and you go, yeah, it's all right, but yeah. But equally, we've had joyous albums, haven't we? Like Rumours and Hajira and Faith and Stop Making Sense. And today, that album is Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Known as Led Zeppelin 4, the fourth album that they did. And I have kind of known it. Good afternoon, our digital brother. And I have kind of always liked this album in the same way that I always liked Fine Young Cannibals, The Raw and the Cooked. And you said, yeah, I really like Led Zeppelin. It's a firm favourite in the house. So this week has been a week of listening to Led Zeppelin 4. And how have you got on, Eric, with Led Zeppelin 4?
This is a kind of odd album for us to review because it's, there's always that sort of dubiety about what the other person, and you suggested this, we go away and invest in this and dive in for a week. Yeah. So I know this album inside out.
Yep, but then we knew Rumours inside out. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But this is up there. This is on a mantle, right? And as we said before, we had a bit of a although we didn't talk about it, I said it's been a joyous week because every rock band that I've ever loved, from Queens of the Stone Age, Eagles of Death Metal, Status Quo, Iron Maiden, White Snake, even through to Sepultura, Pantera, Slipknot, Foo Fighters, Nirvana. It's endless, right? This is the nexus. This is the start point, right? This is where it all came from. So this week I've had the honor of listening to the album that all those bands listened to and said, "Oh, right, okay."
And how has the week been? Has it been a hit? Has it been a miss? Or has it been a kind of...
It's a double thumbs up with a cherry on top.
Yeah.
A double thumbs up.
I can honestly say that since we started this is the first time that I have listened to an album and not listened to any other music during the course of this week. Every time I got in the car to give my son a lift somewhere or to go somewhere, this was playing. And every single time I put it on, I lauged. I laughed because it just was so joyous. Robert Plant screaming and just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking.
I must admit to having listened to other albums, but it was all the other albums. 1, 2, 3, Physical Graffiti, the whole lot, and lots and lots of 4. Lots and lots of 4. I mean, it's just, it's going to be we should just play the album and sit back and shut up.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was going to do some stuff about 1971. This is what was going on. In this country, we decimalized, Thatcher stopped milk in schools, and the Morris Marina was launched. Right, that's my bit done. Do you want to talk about some stats?
well, you missed a particularly high point on the very
of course,
the very first day.
The very first day was the birth of a man that has reshaped the entire digital landscape. A man whose influence is so deep and pervasive that there are very few businesses in Aberdeen and beyond. In fact, anywhere on the entire globe has been influenced by this man's thinking.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Andrew Slesser. That was me. It was me.
Yes,
me. I was the first baby born in Scotland in 1971. I came out. I came out, and my birth certificate says 0001 because I actually came out as the bells were ringing. as the bells were ringing. £10, 11 ounces, described as a bouncing start to the new year, announced in the Daily Record and the Evening Times in Glasgow, because I was born at the Southern General in Glasgow. I was officially the first baby born in Scotland in 1971.
Nice.
So, and later that year, on the 8th of November, 1971, a pretty important album came out.
What album would that be then, Eric?
That would be Led Zeppelin, known as Led Zeppelin 4. It doesn't actually have a title, really, is it? It's just fourth in line. Yeah. So released on the 8th of November 1971, produced by Jimmy Page and recorded between December 70 and February 71, mostly in Headley Grange, which is great to see that documentary.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. Thrilling of John Bonham in the hallway with the drums and all that, and all the cables going in. That's if you're a muso, that documentary is fantastic, right?
Breathtaking, yeah.
Notable for, which I think is a classic. I've never seen. I know it's a bit of a standing joke in Wayne's World and in guitar shops around the world. No Stairway to. I love Stairway to Heaven.
See, I
really love it.
Can't
bear it.
No, dreadful.
Really. Right, okay. And it's been kind of described as their signature song. It has been said that the setting at Headley Grange, this big grand home, inspired them and allowed them to try different arrangements of material and experiment in different ways. The third album got lukewarm reviews from the critics. It's funny to look back because you think Zeppelin, right? Oh, they were fantastic. They were huge. From the moment they came out, they were megastars. Very different story. They were kind of like poorly received and misunderstood. And this has been seen as the album that put the marker down and said, we're here, understand us now. This is what we're all about.
Well, an interesting thing against the second track, Rock and Roll, is Robert Plant wrote the lyrics, which were a response to critics who claimed their previous album, Led Zeppelin 3, wasn't really rock and roll.
Oh.
Led Zeppelin 3 had more of an acoustic folk sound, and Plant wanted to prove that they could still rock out. So the opening line to that song, obviously, it's been a long time since I rock and rolled.
Oh,
which is just, I mean, and this is the thing, isn't it? That when you scratch beneath the surface of what is really great toe tappy sing along music, there is so much stuff going on there, both musically and from the kind of the building of it all. It's just. I am unworthy, to quote. I am unworthy.
That's quite funny what Andrew said. You could play the whole album and still have 15 minutes to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Paul Jones said that this was a cleansing for them. They needed a place where they could have a cup of tea and walk around the garden instead of on the other album where they were just getting drunk all the time. There was no bar and there was no pub nearby Headley Grange. So I'm sure they had little bags of things and other little tinctures and tonics, but yeah, they were able to focus, and they actually became reasonably healthy for a 1971 rock band. So it helped them focus without being.
So everyone is all in the key of A. Well, who knew?
Fantastic! I didn't know Graham Donnelly was a music man. There's a bit of interest. You get to learn so much about people. Classic album with the biggest signatures there. It was the second album I ever bought when I was 10 back in 1980.
Nice.
Outstanding. So, interesting fact. The band had recorded the basic tracks and added all the overdubs at Island Studios in the February of that year. Now, remember, it came out in November. They spent 5 days doing that at Island before Page took the multi-track tapes to Sunset Studios in Los Angeles for mixing on the 9th of February. They hated the results. They hated the results. It was supposed to be out before November. They hated the results. Page travelled back to London. He played back at the Olympic Studios to the band, and they said, "This is rubbish." And he said, "Yeah, it is." He remixed the whole album in July himself, and it was delayed again over the choice of cover because they argued about the cover, whether it should be some said it should have been a double album. We should do it as a double album and extend the length of the songs and make them epic and make them 11 minutes. And then John Paul Jones said, "Why don't we issue it as a set of EPs, not an album at all?" And God, so all these delays and a proper start again remixing gives us this.
Yeah.
What do we say?
So, well, I've got a note here. So Led Zeppelin is generally reckoned to be the best hard rock stroke heavy metal band of all time, and this is their final work, receiving finest work, receiving universal acclaim from critics for their songwriting and breadth of styles and content. That's the thing that struck a chord with me. The fact that every single musical style is covered on this album.
Yeah.
It's a real a global tour of music of the period. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And exhibiting, the high point of all of those different styles.
And I love the fact that you've got, like, this is a horrible thing to say, proper musicians at the top of their game. You only have to look into Jimmy Page's pedigree to see all the years as session musician. I mean, you don't get to be a session musician, and if you're a half-assed guitarist, right?
You can strum a few chords.
Skiffle bands. Learnt how to improvise in skiffle bands and all of that, and then through to electric guitar. I love the interview. You can see it on This Might Get Loud when he's with The Edge and with Jack White. When they interview him when he was a young kid and he was in a skiffle band, and they all look like nuclear physicists. Someone's on a tea chest, and they were like, "So, James Page, what do you aspire to be? You're not going to be doing this skiffle thing for much longer, are you?" I think he says,
"No, I'm going to be a chemist.
I'm going to be a chemist or a geologist or something." Yeah. Ridiculous. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. The god of electric guitar. Imagine the voice of Robert Plant, who can go from low and sultry. He can do gospel. He can do folk. He can do all of that. Interesting. His mother was Romany British, and he was fascinated by Romany British culture. So they think that's where the whole in touch with nature and all of that is. But through his mother, his mother was Romany British. His amazing vocal range, not too shabby on the old harmonica when he pulls it out either.
No,
and
it's incredible,
and a very attractive and perfect frontman. I mean, what does a rock star look like in 1971? Or Robert Plant?
Him, yeah,
Robert Plant,
a beautiful man.
Yeah,
beautiful
absolutely.
Physique, beautiful face, beautiful voice, beautiful hair, just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. John Paul Jones, trained musician, picked up first bass guitar when he was like 10, and got into it. And then the drums.
Yeah, well, we're gonna come on to rhythm as we go through this album. I mean, it's really interesting because you say Jimmy Page, the best electric guitarist. And I really like Slash. I really like Eric Clapton. I really like Jimi Hendrix. And all of these people, fantastic. I think Page is probably better. When you say John Bonham, everybody goes, he was the best drummer.
He was the drummer that made me start, because there are still drummers today wrestling with how he pulled that. Every night they would go out and play live, and he'd do that. I can't remember what the name of the track is that's known to be one of the most complicated bits of drumming ever. With one foot pedal, and drummers struggle to do it with 2 foot pedals. The drummer that everyone says, Bonham, absolutely. So
it's some stats, or should we move on?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, do you want some? The album is a commercial and critical success, shipping over 37 million copies worldwide. It's one of the best-selling albums in the US. Critics have placed it highly on the list of the greatest albums of all time. I think you have some more stats.
So I was having a read of this, and obviously the best-selling album of all time, obviously, is Thriller. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how you measure it; it's the best-selling album of all time.
Is it taken over Dark Side of the Moon?
Oh, long since.
Really?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
So Thriller is the best-selling album of all time. And if you take claimed record sales, this album is the 11th best-selling. If you take certified record sales, this is the 4th best-selling album ever in the history of commercial music. And what's interesting is, first is Thriller, second is the Eagles' greatest hits, third is the Eagles' Hotel California.
Is that right?
Who knew? Yeah, remarkable, isn't it?
Joe Dolce never made it, did he? On the list?
No. Oddly,
what's the matter, you?
Look at this. I mean, the comments are coming in so remarkable.
Yeah.
So should we get on with Black Dog? Interesting. Couple of things about this. Interesting. It's written about the dog at Headley Grange, which was just milling around, and they all got to know the dog. It starts with that sound of Page plugging in his guitar and getting going, and it says. It's him warming up his guitar. He called it "Waking Up the Army of Guitars." Interestingly, about the song, the words "Black Dog" never come in that.
Now, as much as I love this album, as much as I love this band, this is a big band in Casa Doyle. Mrs. Doyle is next door listening to this because I've got Nobody's Fault But Mine because that's one of her favourites. I'll hear on a Friday night when I'm working away, doodly doodly doo, and I'll know that the weekend has started. The weekend has started because Sarah's got Nobody's Fault But Mine on. But there is help me out with this, will you? I've struggled with this my whole life. There is a rhythmic.
Yeah, there is.
There's a glitch, isn't it?
No, it's not a glitch.
Oh,
and it's not a glitch. And I'll tell you why. So I spent ages trying to work this out. And the reason that I work it out is the reason that I struggled with this is that it sounds like there is an extra 1.5 beats halfway through this.
Yeah.
Right. So, and to begin with, you think it hasn't been spliced properly, and then exactly the same thing happens later in the track. Exactly the same, and you think, okay, so how did they do that?
And he does it live.
So the point is that the first beat that it starts on isn't the first beat, it's the last beat of the previous bar.
So he buys himself a beat.
Yeah. So it starts...
Shall we just play it?
Yeah. So... that's a different track. Sorry. So what I couldn't find was a definitive annotation that worked for this. So some say it's 4/4/5/4, then 4/4, then 5/8, then 4/4, then 5/8, then 2/4, then 4/4. But it's that with some tape delay. Anyway, here we go. Black Dog.
Have you got any more volume left?
Here we go. It is the absolute zenith of hard rock, isn't it? There's just nothing that comes close. And the thing that I love so much about this is that every single song on this album is like that. And even though I hate Stairway, I have to acknowledge that it is still an anthem and one of the best songs ever.
Yeah. Can I just do a quick check? If I play this, just because I think you might have an issue with your microphone because it starts to fade away and almost goes to nothing. So for the listeners out there, just so that we give you the best experience, which mic should we use, right? So have a listen to that same thing.
They don't care, so you do it. At the end of the day, it's. I think that the key. It's just you can't get enough of this, can you?
No, you can't. So I think
remember, Eric, I'm going to make you burn. I'm going to make you sting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
okay.
That
second
symbol,
beat.
right symbol. He uses it like nothing you've ever heard before. It gives it energy.
So, which brings us on to rock and roll. So this is basically every song by Status Quo, isn't it? This. It is
like
it's yeah.
Francis Rossi and Rick Parfitt sat down and said, "Right, business plan, track 2.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have that one then. So we'll just make everything like that.
Do you want me to give it a go?
There's a little bit to be said about this. That thing that I said at the beginning about this being a kickback against Led Zeppelin 3, where they got all of that stuff about, oh, you've gone all folk rock, and well, we can still rock and roll. It's been a long time since I rock and rolled. It's been a long time since I did that stroll. Just, oh, let me get back, babe, to where I come from. I mean, it's just, the lyrics just flow so exquisitely, don't
you know what they do so well? Like on Black Dog, we've just heard they're quite happy to give you a bit of silence, and then to crash in. They're comfortable with silence. They're also comfortable with, and sometimes I don't like this it's also sometimes a bit of a cop out with a band when they repeat a lyric. When they do it, it's to emphasize it.
Yeah,
it's fabulous.
Now, here's the thing that I didn't know. How can I get to be in my 50s and not know this? Rock and roll used to be a euphemism for sex. And that's why rock and roll was so unpopular when it came out.
Right.
Which obviously, when you go rock and roll, you go, oh yeah, of course. Why didn't I see that? Well, you didn't see that. And that's why this is such a popular 12-bar blues progression, because it is all about sex, which obviously is a big motivator for people to write songs. So there we go.
Absolutely.
Who knew?
So this song came about a collaboration with one of the guys that they were, because it was quite unusual. They brought in Ian Stewart, pianist. So Bonham and Stewart are having a little jam session where John Bonham is messing around with the intro to Little Richard's "Keep a Knockin'," and rock and roll was born. Plant's lyrics, Page's guitar, John Paul Jones's bass. Here we go. Well, I like it. Thought I'd just stop it there for a bit of a laugh. Put it on again.
Eric. Yeah, all of us is the answer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going looking for my biker jacket and my long hair just to get the head down.
Oh, it is the energy, isn't it? It's the energy there, but 100% commitment into delivering these songs. And like you said, this is incredibly talented musicians at the very top of their game, having fun. And I think that's the key thing. As I said, as I've been listening to this last week, I've been driving in the car and I have been smiling and even giggling to myself at some of the stuff that's going on the record, because they're just loving it, aren't they? They're absolutely loving what they're doing.
Absolutely fantastic.
Great.
I like when Jimmy Page interviewed on It Might Get Loud. He's like, it's like passing clouds, light and shade. It's what you bring to the music. And he's sitting there playing as we'll hear later on, the little mandolin. I love.
Isn't it funny though that he's a great example, and Plant as well. These are people that are proper heavy rockers, and actually when you get them off the stage, they're really gentle, spiritual men, aren't they? Just lovely, lovely people.
Lovely guys, absolutely.
Have you seen the thing with Brian Johnson from AC/DC when he goes and interviews Robert Plant on his island? No. It's just Robert Plant is gorgeous. They see each other and they have a hug and they're kind of just sitting down chatting about the good old days. Just lovely man.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lovely video which I might put in the chat, a link to it at YouTube, when they're being inducted into. There's some I actually made a post about it a couple of years ago. Tripping on YouTube users. They've been inducted into some Hall of Fame. They're sitting with ribbons around their neck in black
I've seen
tie.
that in the Albert Hall or wherever it is.
And I think it's in America, actually. The Obamas are there. It's a huge big affair. And Hart do a tribute to them and do Stairway to Heaven and all of that. But then Jack Black, the comedian, comes out, School of Rock, and he goes, Led Zeppelin. And everyone's giggling. And he goes, they sung of Vikings. They sung of making love. They sung of making love to Vikings. This is terrific. It's, again, when you play this, what happens is suddenly lots of pictures open up in your mind of all the rock music you've heard over the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And it all goes here. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
This is the Big Bang, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm a big Queens of the Stone Age fan, and the last album, Villains, no, not Villains. Yeah, Villains is kind of like rock and roll. It's kind of around that a little bit. So terrific, absolutely terrific song. Shall we crack on? What's your next?
Battle of Air. This is the one that starts with the mandolin, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said to you jokingly, my first wife was a mandolin player, and even though obviously at the point that we got married, we were very much in love, I still couldn't bear the dreadful noise that the mandolin makes. However, when I put this on, it's like, it's all right. Actually, it works. It works.
I remember saying to you, there's a line in one of my favorite Joni Mitchell songs that says, "I went to Staten Island, Sharon, to buy myself a mandolin," and you went, "Well, that was a wasted trip, wasn't it?"
Yeah, but it is perfectly okay here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Martin. I'm with you. Bon Scott, 100%. Actually, really don't like Brian Johnson's voice. I'm being honest; it might be a bit controversial for the fans out there. I was all about Bon Scott. Yeah, without a doubt. Battle of Evermore, written by Page and the Mandolin, borrowed from a Jones plant, borrowed from a mandolin borrowed from Jones, because Jones was a little muso, keyboards, bass, mandolin, a huge collection of guitars. Plant added lyrics inspired by reading about the Scottish Independence Wars.
It is really interesting how well read these people are, isn't it? Interestingly, this was the first time that on the album that Robert Plant sang a duet with a woman.
Correct, Sandy Denny.
With Sandy Denny, and he later went on to sing with Alison Krauss and a number of others, didn't he?
So I think she sings the part of the town crier, representing lots of the people in here as well. So shall we give it a go? I love this. I love this. I love this. Here it goes. Quite a quiet start.
Queen of Light took her plow, and then she turned to gold. Prince of Peace embraced the gloom, I walked the night alone. Oh, dancing the seems to have more. Dark Lord rides and first to know, and time will tell us
Jimmy Page, Graham. He borrowed JPG's mandolin for this one. It puts you in Culloden Muir. It puts you can smell the peat fires. You can see muddy people in kilts.
The only thing missing is bagpipes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Down in the valley below, I'm waiting for the angels of Babylon, waiting for the eastern glow. The apples all in the valley, oh, the seas have happened there. The ground is rich from tender care, the day do not forget. Oh, no, don't see the dark light. Listen to the morning's turn to crown and back, the tyrant's face free.
I give up. I'm just going to play it all right.
Mothers never know.
I can imagine there must have been some people who were like, after Black Dog and rock and roll, like, what on earth is this? There must have been, right? A few people going, what is this?
Well, actually, I think when you haven't listened to the album for a while, you are one of those people, aren't you? Because it's a bit of a juxtaposition as to what's come before. But I think that if you think about the bases that they're covering with the different songs here, there are no two songs that are the same.
No.
And that shows. So even the best of artists, rarely do they play something where you think it actually doesn't sound like them playing.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've had great stuff. We've had George Michael, we've had the Talking Heads, we've had, all of those albums where people that we've absolutely loved the album, loved the person, applauded their musicality and ability. But every time a George Michael song starts, it's George Michael. Every time and here that isn't the case, is it? These are wildly different in terms of
different,
and the texture and everything. Just outstanding.
A grindy old blues head down rocker, a very tricky rhythmic start, showing you how musically brilliant they are. Then into this, which is we are head and shoulders above the rest of you, because we can dance in folk. We can move into gospel. We can do blues. We can do old-fashioned blues. We can do modern rock. We can do it all, and it's all up here. And then there's the next track,
which I mean, that I hate this, but
I love it.
Yeah, and it says in the notes that I've got here, the most famous rock song of all time, and actually, they're clearly, there's nobody in the world that da, 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 da. It's like, okay, there's no one in the world that doesn't know what this song is.
Correct. Absolutely. Just a little dip back into, because we like to do it. This is like watching a Tarantino film. We'll dip forward. When Plant was a kid, he used to hide behind the curtains at home in West Bromwich in Staffordshire. Hide behind the curtains at home because there was a French window, and when they drew the curtains, it never followed the shape of the windows. It left a little stage. And he would practice dancing and singing like Elvis.
Wow.
That was his thing. That was what he used to do. He'd hide in that space, and he said, that was all the ambience I ever got at 10 years old. I always wanted to be similar to that. I wanted to be Elvis, and I wanted to be... So he's in there doing, yeah, nothing but a hound dog. I love the fact that prior to joining the band, he worked in Woolworths in Hales Owen.
Yeah.
How much is that, your pick and mix?
You're a bit light on my sherbet lemons. Come on, pop another one in there, mate.
Hold on a minute. You've got more pick and mix in your mouth than there's in the bag. What's going on? Turn your pockets out. Yeah, imagine he hadn't hooked up with and met John Bonham that night when he was performing with another band in a pub, who said, you should come and talk to us. We are putting a band together and all that. Imagine the sliding doors if it hadn't happened. Yeah, you should. We should celebrate this. So it's pilloried. It's been taken off, and when Wayne goes into the shop to pick up the guitar and he sits down and no Stairway to Heaven. In guitar shops around the world, no Stairway to Heaven. Plant was driving around in LA at the time, and the DJ had said, we have a stop requesting Stairway to Heaven because we have a Stairway to Heaven ban here. They were doing a charity fundraising thing at the time, and Plant stopped the cab, got out and phoned the number and said, I'm Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. I'd love you to play Stairway to Heaven, and I'm going to make a sizable donation to your charity. Here's Stairway to Heaven, folks. Do, 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 do. And they played it. So
Eric.
Denied. Shawing. Good point. Oh. the lovely thing about this, goths. I mean, when I hear that, I hear All About Eve. I sit by the harbour. The goths loved it. The metal fans loved it. Folk fans loved it. They've got, yeah, play it all.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came for. And she's buying a stairway. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have in the tree.
Okay, that's enough of that.
That's enough of that. Wait, well, I push it on a little bit. Oh, I get a shiver every time I hear this. Look, they're officially standing up, folks.
They are, aren't they?
Oh, definitely, yes. So clever. Got to hear this.
And it's whispered that soon, if we all call the truth, then the Bible will lead us to reason. And a new day. Just a sprinkling for the May Queen. Yes.
Interesting side note, Page played the guitar solo on the track using a Fender Stratocaster borrowed from Jeff Beck. He played it 3 times and chose the best one, but obviously in future, when they went out and took this out live, he played a double-handed Gibson EDS 1275. Just off the top of my head. I've got to get there. Yeah, this is a Telecaster. Oh. But I mean, at 11 minutes, it's pretty. Well, I think my version here is must be about 8 or 9 minutes. It's a massive thing. I mean, it's Rhapsody epic.
I was going to say, right? It's their Bohemian Rhapsody, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, Graham, a Telecaster you're listening to right there before he pulled out the old Gibson and did it on that. So an epic song, huge.
Yeah.
I know. Why do you hate it? Just because it was overplayed?
I think so. And I think that there are songs that are very famous by people that are not representative of what people do. So the Lou Reed one, Walk on the Wild Side, be a good example of that. Oh, I love Lou Reed. You know, Walk on the Wild Side is a great song. Actually, if you love that, you've no idea who Lou Reed is. Yeah. And it's a bit like that with these guys, isn't it? You know, this is not representative of their general mode of operation. And I think it's
if that's all we ever got to know about them, I think it's quite a fitting. I think it shows everything that they are. But hey, that's what the show's about, right?
I'm just reading what Jess wrote.
That is pure window down, sunburnt driver's arm out, air whip face stuff. Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Just play it all and stop mucking about, says Andrew. Yeah, exactly. I know. So we're now on to. I mean, this has only got 8 tracks. This album.
Yeah, but what an 8! What an 8!
What an 8. So I think we're now on side 2, right?
We are. So Misty
Yeah.
Mountain Hop.
Misty Mountain Hop.
This was written about a love-in in London that was broken up by the police, according
Yep.
to Robert Plant, which is interesting. The Misty Mountains are in Wales, and they're referred to in The Return of the King. Plant's a big fan of. I think someone else mentioned that, saying that a couple of tracks were influenced by Lord of the Rings. This was also recorded by Four Non Blondes in 1995, and a Led Zeppelin tribute album called Enconium.
Oh, right.
They broke up while they were recording their second album. I think what's interesting about this is that when this starts, it's one of those ones where you go, hey, where did that come from? Because it starts, and it took a long time for me to work out what's going on here. So you think that it's the first beat of the bar, and in fact, it's the last beat of the previous bar. So it's instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then when the next bit comes in, when it changes from offbeat to onbeat, and then you go, oh right, now I get what's going on there.
Yeah, and you know, again, underlining the fact that they weren't just guitar players, proper musicians, right? Know their stuff.
Actually, put the very beginning on.
Did I miss the very beginning?
You did.
Terribly sorry.
And it changes from off to on, doesn't it?
The next statement. This is awesome. Look at this.
Beautiful.
Just then a policeman stepped up to me as I said, "Please hey, would you care?"
Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, so I love the bit a little bit further on. Why don't you take a look at yourself and describe what you see? And baby, 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 do you like it? I just love the way he sings that. And that always makes me laugh. It's just so fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. If a question for you, knowing what you know now about Led Zeppelin, which one would you be? It's got me thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I love the guitar, so Jimmy Page would be. But actually, there's something magical about Robert Plant, isn't there? There is something.
Plant.
I kind of think.
Yeah. I would want to have Bonham's skill. I'd want to be Bonzo, as I think he was known. I'd like to be on that drum kit without a doubt.
Yeah.
So we've got no fight there. There you go. Yes, I'm the younger, better-looking brother, Nurhan. So that is Misty Mountain Hop, and then we career into track 6. My goodness.
Hold on, 4 sticks. 4 sticks. Oh my god, this is remarkable. So this was another one of those things that I was listening to, and I was spodding out on, just going, okay, so this is largely written in 5/4 time.
Yeah.
And there are not many songs written in 5/4. One of them would be Dave Brubeck, Take 5. Another one, interestingly, the waltz from Tchaikovsky's Pathetic Symphony, number 6. which goes da 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 da, which is only waltz written in 5/4 time, and apparently this is called Four Sticks because he could only play this with 2 drumsticks in each hand because of the way that he had to hit the drums. Which even in his exactly, even in your in the quiet of your own home begs the question why and how. Because that's quite some achievement, I think, to be a rock drummer with 2 sticks in each hand. But I think there's something else here as well.
Right.
So when you count the bars, it starts off in 5/4 and it goes 5/4 5/4, and then there are repeatedly 4 bars of 3/8. So when you listen to it, you'll see it's obviously 5/4 and it sets out in that, and then it changes. There are 4 short bars. And then it goes back to that rhythm again. And I think it's something to do with that as well.
Let's hear it. Keep in mind, in the documentary about the making of this album, Bonham wasn't happy with the sound of the drum kit in the room that they put him in. So he had the drum kit moved to another room and then the dining room. And then eventually one day stood up and went, in the hallway where there was a big spiral staircase, 3 floors, and said, I want it here. And they hung microphones from this enormous ceiling. And Robert Plant and all the band say the noise of the acoustics from him freaking out doing this in the hallway. Now, it happened to be where all the cables came in from the mobile recording studio, which they borrowed from the Rolling Stones.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a truck outside, all the cables coming in, and they had to build his drum kit around there. And when he hit the first thing, they put blankets over certain parts of the stairwell and the banister, another blanket there, and eventually got it. So this is the amazing. I'm just going to get this from the start again. Just a note to all of our viewers, it's quite possible we might run over. But who cares, right? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, this is just out of this world, isn't it? And again, it's so different to everything. There's no duplication on this album at all.
This is an origin point, and that's lovely. I mean, which band do you know? I've got one in mind, but no one likes them. So which band do you know are truly unique?
That are still around?
No, of all time, that were truly unique.
Okay, the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Yeah, okay. Because they in their 10 years, they did more than Led Zeppelin did in this album, which is quite, so they went from Twist and Shout to I Am the Walrus to Let It Be, so a remarkable breadth of work where they did a Madonna, and they reinvented themselves so regularly. I think what's remarkable with this album is that these guys have reinvented themselves from one song to the next. Yeah.
Genesis is a good shout. I would say The Fall, Marky Smith and The Fall are truly unique. Not everyone's cup of tea, but you hear uniqueness. Do you know they only performed this together as a band once live?
Yes, in Denmark.
Yep. It was played live only once and re-recorded with the Bombay Symphony Orchestra in 1972, then reworked for Page and Plant's 1994 album No Quarter by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant Unleaded. Pink Floyd?
They are unique, and we covered The Wall, didn't we? That was our second or third album.
The most depressing week of my life.
Yeah, it was
great. But it was
they're all the same, aren't they? You know, every Pink Floyd song is like every other Pink Floyd song.
Oh, so see, you're going to start an argument now. I don't think so. But for another day, because we're running short of time. For another day. That is the incredible Four Sticks, built around that mesmerizing percussion that Bonham's putting out there, and all the layers of beauty on top of it. And then we're going to California. A quieter Joni Mitchell, yeah, a quieter, a sort of who's your man? Joni Mitchell and her.
James Taylor.
Yeah, almost in that kind of.
Very much so.
Very much so.
Days with a woman kind, smoke my stuff and drink all my wine. Made up my mind to make a new start. Going to California with a lake in my heart.
So it says here, Page and Plant were both enthralled by Joni Mitchell's songwriting. In Going to California, the guy in the song is looking for a girl just like her, one with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair, who plays guitar and cries and sings.
Took my chances on a big jet plane. Never let me tell you that we're all the same.
And for any Joni Mitchell fans out there, it's a perfect tribute. You can hear her singing it. The title track, this track was originally going to be called Guide to California, and it became this after a trip to Los Angeles to mix the album. They changed it to Going to California. So a lovely little piece of respite before we get into behemoth territory here.
Yeah, so this last song is it is an epic. It is the best song on this album. It is the best thing that they've done, and I don't care what anybody says. This is Delta Blue. It's tackling a really big topic, you know, the Mississippi floods, which Randy Newman wrote about, and loads of people have written about. It's tackling, you know, the dispossession of the flooding when the levee breaks because of the heavy rains in the Delta Basin. It's got so much of that black slide guitar, funky mouth organ blues. It's a big, epic. Oh, it's just.
I think there's an. I didn't have time to do it before I went in, but there's a website that will show you how many times when you type in a track, how many times it's been sampled. The drum break at the start here has been sampled so many times, so many times. It's absolutely fantastic. This is When the Levee Breaks. Up there.
If it keeps on raining, levee's going to break. If it keeps on raining, levee's going to break. When the levee breaks, I know a place to stay. Me
you can feel the heat and the humidity, can't you, when they're performing this?
Absolutely, they put you right in the sweat of Mississippi, whatever it might be. We'll do it one day. For me, it's nobody's fault but mine. I'm there with, and Kashmir, I think probably Barry as well, but this is all epic. You see all the pictures of all the bands that sound like this coming out of it.
Yeah. And as you move through the album, there are more and more artists that pop up, and you go, oh yeah, this bit, obviously. And what's really interesting is that with these guys, you know, there's that drum solo or that vocal or that texture or that bit of mouth organ or that bit of flute or that bit of guitar or whatever it is, and it's a little musical vignette that is popped in to change from one thing to the next here. And there are loads of bands that built a career on that little throwaway thing.
100%. It's a shame to leave it.
Mate, do you know, as we were going through this album, I thought to myself, you know, this absolutely sums up how I feel about music. So, you know, we've been through a whole host of albums, from stuff which is literally still hot in the charts, through to this is probably the earliest album we've done. And the best things have come from the 70s. The second best things have come from the 80s.
We know we disagree about this.
But we don't, do we? Because for you and me, the best albums have been the same albums. You know, it's been this, it's been Rumours, it's been the 2 Joni Mitchell albums we did. Those were the best ones. The next best ones were Stop Making Sense, George Michael. You know, so actually, that's it. I'm not saying that there is no such thing as good music anymore. But what I am saying is that this will not be equaled ever.
Not in our lifetime. Not in our lifetime. Until music becomes like, you know, Star Wars bar type stuff, and music takes on a different... this was pioneering. It was epic. It was beautifully presented, beautifully performed. It's got heart. It's got soul. I always like... Here's an interesting thing. You know that I like to believe that... I'll say it, but I don't believe them. I'll say it week after week. I just don't believe them. I think they're just singing lyrics. You believe every one of the contributors, all of them, even the quiet man on the bass guitar in the corner. You believe him because he's tight, he's on it, and he's watching. Imagine being the bass player in that band, having to watch Jimmy Page and John Bonham and go like, oh
Christ, that's me. I'm supposed to be. Yeah. No, absolutely. But the thing that I took away from this album, I mean, obviously there's the brilliant musicianship, the great songwriting, the great melodies, the great togetherness of the band. What I got was the immense joy of them being in a room playing stuff together. You know, you can hear it in their voices, you can hear it in the way they're attacking the instruments. It's just lovely.
Very good, very good. It's been an amazing week. And actually, you know, some of the stuff that we do here is music that we're going to listen to occasionally. Some of the stuff we do, we're never going to listen to again. One of us didn't like it. We're not going to listen to it again.
Are you packing this album to go on your desert island?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's classic. It's terrific. So I've enjoyed this week immensely. And I think it's evident in the comments from our lovely listeners that this is an album that means a lot to people.
Yeah, and in fact, the number of people that said they were coming to today's session, you know, just like 3-4 times as many as every other one.
Thanks, Graham.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks, Graham.
Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Follow that. So I'm not going to try and follow it because that's not in the spirit of the show. It's not about bettering or anything like that. So it's all about diversity and it's all about difference. We'll go heavy pop to heavy blues one week. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to take us to 1992.
Okay.
I'm going to take it to this person's 5th studio album. I'm going to take it to a studio album that was accompanied by a rather controversial book. A coffee table, sort of large
Madonna.
book. I'm going to do Erotica by Madonna.
Right. Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine bought a copy of the book, which came in I didn't buy a copy, and he brought it into work, and we all sat around going, at that time, I didn't think it was legal to have that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, I felt as if I knew her a hell of a lot better after reading, watch it. Yeah, so it's not about.
Yes, ask any questions.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah. I'm probably not educated enough to answer them, but we'll try. Yeah, we're not. I'm not going to try and compete. Nah.
Well,
I compete with that.
I think it's it's not about competing, is it? And actually, I'm really pleased that we've had another album where we've both been so genuinely excited.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, this album, whilst it has been thrilling to do, and I've really enjoyed it, the fact that I enjoyed it so much didn't come as a surprise to me.
Me neither.
And therefore, it wasn't the real kind of bang. Because I remember when we did Stop Making Sense, and we both said afterwards, "Oh my God, that is the best live album ever, no question."
No question.
And we've had a couple of instances, and in fact, Rumours was that as well, wasn't it? Where we just
it was.
I knew it was going to be
Epic.
good, but
Joni Mitchell.
I had no idea it was going to be that good. Yeah,
both epic. There's oversharing sometimes, Madonna. Yeah, there is absolutely. So we're going to do Madonna Erotica. We review any kind of album here. Someone chucks an album out, we'll go away and review it, and we'll go and do it. We'd love to take recommendations from our audience. Good to see you, Andrew.
Yeah,
so
thanks a lot, Andrew.
That's what we're going to do. We'll get inside it. Adam and I work together, but we're not going to speak about this. We're going to listen in silence. We're going to make notes, and we're going to give it a proper review. If we hate it, we hate it. If we love it, we love it. Or somewhere in between. It's all about the conversation.
It certainly is. So thank you, everybody, for coming along. Loads of great questions and comments from everyone. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy the weather. It's going to be 40 degrees on Monday, apparently.
Oh. Ouch, 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 ouch.
Which
is 30 up here, I think. But I mean, we're not set out for that.
Well, we're not down here for 40, so it'll be an I think we'll all be running at sort of 75% of normal speed, won't we?
Yeah, big time.
So thank you all very much. See you all next time.